Welcome back to another Joseph Corey Krisen podcast. I appreciate you all so much, especially the regular listeners. Today I just want to start off by saying, take heart, have no fear. I know we are going crazy with everything that's going on in the world. Seriously, it seems like you can't step left, you can't step right without somebody talking about what's going on in the Middle East or with the Federal Reserve. I mean, it seems like just 2 minutes ago, Trump was the best president in the world. I mean, at least it was a better option than Harris. But everybody resents this man. It's like this man is like the most hated president ever. Became a wartime president, even though he was advocating peace and all these other things. But long story short, I think the American public is just tired of the lies. I think it would be more noble if politicians were at least honest or at least leveled with the public. But for some reason, they in their minds, in the mind of a politician, if you say a lie long enough, they must seem to really believe it. That must be the lingo. But I wanted to start off. I want to take a different direction with the podcast. And I talk all the time about economic policy and the things how they affect me personally, but I kind of want to take more of a macro view because it's kind of crazy what's going on with these markets. I mean, it just today. I mean, in the past week, we've seen nearly $1,000 drop in gold. I mean, let's see here. Let me open up the gold price. I see just in 5 days. I'm like, I'm over exaggerating. Dude, but it seems like 1,000. Just in 5 days, it's dropped $311. Like we're at 4,682 for the price of gold. Crude oil is sitting at $93. I mean, where do you put your hope in these markets? Seriously, I mean, like I'm going to continue to invest in my stocks, and my stocks. I don't really talk about it much on this podcast, but I have 7 stocks, and I stick to 7 stocks. 7 being the perfect number in my opinion. I don't go beyond 7 because I believe if I cannot tell somebody why I'm investing in 7 stocks, then I don't understand what I'm putting my money in. I should be able to know where every penny is going and what it's doing for me. So these are my 7 stocks, and I won't go beyond them. I invest in TPL to Texas Pacific Land. Just they own land and oil royalties in the Permian Basin. I mean, this stock is like a hidden gem if you ask me. It's got high growth. The PE is at 76. I mean, it they've had to cut the price. They've had to buy back stocks for like 3 times. This has just been like a remarkable growth to me. To me, it's like a hidden gem. Second, I have old income royalty for the dividends. Honestly, I'm trying to get my dividends up. That's the only reason why I'm investing. If you really think about it, that I don't really speculate, and that's why you'll find that most of my stocks are either ETFs or mutual funds. Excuse me. Number 3, I have URNM. I'm very bullish on uranium. I was investing all in UEC because I really liked the company. I liked how much uranium they had stored up, and they were very frugal. But I mean, like, why would I invest in one stock? I've been really advocate on ETFs. I mean, like, why do all the heavy lifting? Why, like, because I don't come home and study, and I don't have 5 screens in front of me. I'm not paying attention. I don't got the news in one, and I'm not checking the price of this and that and comparing it to other sectors. No, not at all. I kind of want to save my brain power for other things. I'm a human being. I don't want to stress out about the markets and have to check it every 2 seconds because I got my whole net worth in there. No, that's not the case. The Bible says where your treasure is, there your heart is also, right? And I'm trying to go to heaven. So, oh, I can't believe I just got side noted off that. Okay, number 4, XLE. Oh, this is just the energy sector. XLE. Come on now, like I shouldn't even have to explain XLE. It's just oil ETF. I probably would always invest in this regardless of the shell shocks or the volatility in oil. Because I mean, though to me it's about the principle. We are always going to need oil, right? And they pay a small dividend. Thanks to God for that. Somewhere around $1.04 per share. So that's not bad at all. SCHD, obviously for the dividends. I actually trust this method of investing for Schwab's US dividend because they have a specific investing, and they meet every 23rd of March each year and reevaluate their companies. This is the type of thing that I actually would trust put my money in and not worry about. And this Euro Pacific, I have 2 of these right now, and it's only because they've been outperforming the S&P, but not the Europac Gold. But I have EPGFX and EPDIX for the just to hedge against the dollar because the dollar has been falling. But those are my 7 stocks, and that preludes into my next topic, and that is how the Federal Reserve is going to essentially sacrifice the dollar. They are not going to do what's right. In the mind of the Federal Reserve, if they actually had balls, if Jerome Powell actually did what was right and took the hard stance, and I get it because he probably could get killed for this, or it's probably somebody, it's probably not even, Jerome Powell pulling the strings. It's probably some, I don't know, some dude at the top really telling him what to do, and it just, behind the scenes, because the Federal Reserve is a private entity in the first place. But if he had some balls, they would be raising interest rates right now. Oh my goodness, they would be raising interest rates. They are in such a divine position that they can influence, if they were actually truly independent, they can influence the government. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Right? If they actually were data dependent, they would be raising interest rates right now. They would let markets dictate interest rates, essentially. But of course, they're going to sacrifice the dollar because the government is not willing to cut spending, though that is another thing that they could influence if they truly were independent. But here we are. I mean, what can you do? And the stock market has been falling these past couple of days. As I record this podcast on the 19th of March, and for good reason, if you think about it. Everybody is fleeing to safety. I really don't buy this temporary drop in mining stocks. This temporary drop in mining stocks, I mean, one of my favorites is SILJ, right? Amplified Junior Silver Miners. It dropped $10. It dropped $10. It was at $36 a month ago, February 27th. And it's dropped about $10. I don't buy this. I don't buy this at all. I don't think this is a bear market at all. I think this is a higher low, and I think that this is just going to explode because people are going to flee to safety once they see how all of these geopolitical conflicts are not going away. Seriously, I mean, the fact that gold is even at or even reached 5,500. What does that mean, right? That means that it takes $5,500 to buy that same ounce of gold. That's not because of fear of anything. That's just a devaluation of the currency. And we can see this happen throughout history, right? This is what every powerful nation, whether it was Greece, Britain, every powerful nation from the beginning of time has sacrificed their currency. Spain, like just look in history. Rome, I mean, I don't even know why I didn't even think of Rome. Everybody has debased their currency, right? At the expense of the American public. Because it's easier than just saying, hey, we're going to raise your taxes, right? To pay for a war, no less. Isn't that something? I mean, if we were able to vote for wars, would we go to war? Imagine if Trump, if he changed the law and said, hey, we're going to put a vote to this. I don't know what to do. I want to know what the public does. He would be loved. He would be loved. Hey, let's put a vote. Do you all want to go to war, fight this war in Iraq? Of course, everybody would say, hell no. Everybody will look at the economy, look at their grocery bill. Come on now. But no, that's not how things work. So here we are having to make our own decisions and do the very best that we can. So yeah, I just wanted to take a different direction in this podcast, and I want to tell you all really what I invest in. I don't do much investing because I like to offer mostly to my church. Sometimes I'm lacking in that area, but I try my best, thanks to God. I believe, it's meaningless. I mean, you could invest, you could build houses here, you could grow a business. I mean, you're still going to die at the end of the day. The goal, you don't want to get lost on this earth because this is, Satan is the prince of this earth, right? And essentially, I mean, if Satan is the enemy of your soul, you got to look at everything as something that's distracting you from going to heaven or a hindrance. That's Satan's whole purpose, right? The victory has already been declared. I mean, I'm trying to be on the winning side, you know what I'm saying? But if that's the case, then the enemy is going to do things to get you to lose out on your salvation. So you got to be careful for that. And I always keep that in mind. So I would like to talk about why only dummies invest in the stock market when they have debt. Because you can only do three things with your paycheck. When you get paid every week, you can only do three things essentially, right? You can either save the money, of course, I mean, which is what most people want to do, right? I believe most people want to save their money. Do they not? You can invest the money, right? Or you can pay off debt. See, unless you are making a decent amount of money and you don't have that debt, then you can do all three. But if you have to live frugally, I mean, like, if every penny matters, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, essentially, right? Man, because income and wealth, right? Or riches and wealth are two different things. Riches is how much income you make in a year. Like somebody who's making over 100, I guess you could say rather $150,000 today, they're considered rich, right? They have options. They got options. But a wealthy person, that's how much money you've kept. You know, that's that old money. It's sitting in the bank, like generational wealth, right? They call it. Excuse me. Yeah, you can't like wealth is pretty much if you stopped working today, how long would you last? Man, like I don't know about you, but I wouldn't I wouldn't last long. I still have to work, right? Because I can't just retire unless I do something to get some more income or gain my skill or I grow my skill set or something like that. But um no, we have to be realistic, right? So based off our income bracket, one may find it difficult to do all three of these things. So that's why we must allocate our resources responsibly, right? And think of trade-offs. We have to think of the trade-off. If I'm putting $1 here, the trade-off is where whichever better option it could have been used for. That's the trade-off, right? So we have to think in these terms. So how did you come to acquire debt in the first place though? Right? How did you when you don't have the funds, you either make without or you borrow, right? But ultimately all of this is a testament to one's lacking ability to create wealth in the first place, right? Because why would you borrow money if you could create the wealth, right? In other words, you don't have the skills that are marketable in the workplace, essentially. And there are many avenues to raise your income, and they're not instantaneous, but they do require diligence. Um, it's better to start something than less you finish it because there's many things in my life personally. I mean, many of you who know me, personally, they know that I've been making music. I don't like to say just making music. I've been composing and audio and engineering audio for about 10 years. 10 years. I've only made out of that 10 years $200 plus. That's it. $200 out of 10 years. So that was me off and on coming back into it. I've sold maybe 2 beats, got paid to engineer somebody's audio. I did a couple audiobooks. But that was it. That was it. And half these people were people I knew. They just knew that I did that work and I did that for them and I charged them. But, dude, if I was serious, if I did not give up in between those times, where would I be now? So it's pointless. I mean, like that's my skill set. When somebody asks me what's my skill set, I tell them I'm an audio engineer, right? It it's pointless if you give up, if you stop doing it midway. Literally, anybody who's been successful at anything, they just didn't. They do it every day. They just didn't stop doing it, right? No one got good the first day. This is why it blows my mind when people make fun of somebody for trying something new. I'm like, are you serious? Man, that's like the most ignorant thing in the world. Anyways, but what matters is the progression, right? Truly adding, I mean, let's go back to monetary terms. It's the same thing with savings, right? If you are truly seeking the fruit of your investment, that means you're not licking the principal, right? Meaning you're allowing it to compound. You know what's interesting about compound interest? It only works if you add time. Isn't that interesting? Like you can't be moving the money around. You got to let it sit, right? That's what compound interest is. I guess it's the same thing with dividends, right? I mean, like if you buy a stock, they'll pay you the dividend, but think about it, you can reinvest your dividends and get more, right? So it compounds. But all of this is a factor of time. So of course, progression matters, but you have to, if patience is if consistency is the engine, patience is the oil. That's one of my favorites, truly. And there's a psychological effect behind all of it. The psychological effect it has on the mind gives one vitality, right? And hope for the future in the first place. Even if it's just pennies, it allocates towards all three, right? You can save, invest, and pay off debt. Um, but ideally, you don't want to. I mean, the whole point is you don't want to invest while you're in debt. Honestly, me personally, I wouldn't want to pay off debt and be broke. That to me, that's dumb. You always want to take care of yourself first off, because you don't know what could happen. Um, if the stock market plummets, if the unemployment rises, who is going to be paying their debt? Not a single person. You can already see the students ain't paying their student loans right now. They already said forget that. Like they have to convince them to pay their student loans, right? Even though because Biden created this whole narrative trying to get them out of that. But yeah, why would you? It's silly. Save your $1,000 emergency fund, pay off your debt, then invest. Why? Because you get a double return on your money. For example, credit cards are averaging 25% right now. No, actually, I think that went up. They're averaging 28% right now. If you got a 600 credit score, you're pretty much getting charged 28 to 32% in interest on a credit card. But think about it. Is there any investment in the world that will pay you that amount? No, not one. You cannot find not one mutual fund manager, not money manager in the world who has gotten a return like that. So the best thing you can do is pay off your debt. Seriously, I mean that's the best thing you could do. Unless you're going to let that completely go to collections. I mean, I guess that is an option, right? You could let that go to collections and then negotiate to something lower, but still in the end you're paying more. Of course, you're paying more because they rack it up through interest. So we got to be wise. But that's step number one. If you got money in the stock market, I just want to advise you, you know, unless if you got anything over $1,000, pull that money out and pay off your debt. You know what I'm saying? There's not only just the physical freedom, but there's a psychological effect weighing you down. So just pay off that debt. It's good for a man, if you ask me. Like I mentioned earlier, where your treasure is, your heart is also. So people have no choice but to attract the things they hold dear or most often think about. For example, a man in debt is always burdened by the thought of it. Even a millionaire has a million problems. Isn't that interesting? How did a millionaire even get to have a million problems? Well, he borrowed $1 million. I mean, a lot of millionaires don't got $1 million in the bank, but they moving money. They have assets that they can liquidate, right? But man, I would not want to be worrying about that. It's often been said like before. I guess I could put it this way: you don't know how good of sleep you get until you get rich. I'm not rich. I'll be the first to say that right now. But man, I sleep like a baby. I don't worry. I don't have to. I'm not writing checks right now. I don't. If the bank comes, they can't take my business. They can't liquidate. Like I don't have nothing to worry about. If you think about it, at the end of the day, as long as you got clothes on your back, food to eat, and shelter, you're blessed. There's somebody in another part of the world who wishes that they had your life. Never forget that. There's somebody, probably somebody near you, who wishes they had your situation. So, like, yes, we want to improve our life, but we got to be humble at the same time. Because even if you won the lottery right now, what good would it do you? I mean, what type of man are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just got if you won $1 million in the lottery, I mean, like after taxes, pretty much 500. I don't know how much, but say you got $500 through the lottery, you're pretty much just going to be an exaltation of your present self. I mean, is that good or bad? I mean, you know the answer to that, right? I don't know why I have in my notes in regards to women, but let's see what I have here. Oh, wait. Yeah. Even a millionaire has a million problems. I guess that's why. For some reason, when I think of a millionaire, I think of like he just has a million candidates. They're not like actual women that he would connect with or get to know, but these are just options. If you have more money, you have more options. But the problem is it attracts the wrong kind of. In regards to women, you attract what type of man you are. You can't attract anything other than what you are. So if you're attracting a whole bunch of hoes, then dude, you're a sexually immoral man. That's why. Like if women are constantly trying to cheat you, is because you look like you should be cheated. You look like a sucker, pretty much. I guess I'll put it another way. If you're an overweight man, what are the chances of you pulling off a skinny woman? Slim to none. Pun intended. There's a reason why there's prejudice towards the rich and politicians. They create laws toward the rich, but because it appears that they oppress the poor. This may be true to an extent, but the problem is that many blame others for their excuse to remain poor and receive free benefits, right? That's socialism. Like what they just voted Mandami into office in New York, right? I guarantee you, the majority of people who voted him in office wanted something for nothing because that's what he was promising. What type of people are they? Not willing to work. What I'm saying? We've had too much peace, man. Because when I used to go to my grandparents' house, my Uncle Teddy's house, man, him and my auntie would always have canned goods lined up in they entire basement. They had like a whole bunker. And it's because they lived through the Great Depression. They lived through World War II. They saw what it is to not have a regular society. Like you can't go around a corner and just buy something at a regular price. They saw that. They witnessed that. But see, today, nobody experienced these things. How many people living today, how many of these people who are like working today, these young people, even experienced the 2008 financial crisis? I don't remember. I'm 28 years old. My birthday is May 14th. I was born 1997. I don't remember the 2008 financial crisis. My parents bore the burden of that. I remember. I mean, I probably remember it was something maybe it was sometimes where I didn't I couldn't eat good as a kid, but come on now, like, do I remember? No, I wasn't even working. You kidding me? I had no skin in the game to really experience that, but they did. You know what I'm saying? And this is why you see this change in the economy, right? We're seeing laws being catered towards socialism away from democracy. And you know what's interesting is they asked Benjamin Franklin what type of government. I don't forget how they asked him this, but when Benjamin Franklin was asked about the government of the United States, he said a democracy if they can keep it, because that's the that is that is the essence of America right now. We're slowly. I mean, look at California, of which I'm in, unfortunately. I moved from Chicago, the best city in the world, um, and I moved here for numerous reasons. That's a series of unfortunate events. But man, being able to live in Indiana, come from Chicagoland area, I see the best of both worlds. And man, Illinois is the East Coast California. California is, oh my goodness, my uncle left here not too long ago, and I see why. It's just like the liberalism and the entitlement of these people. It's like a cloud that is hovering over all the people, and it's literally like you feel like every person you talk to is just a transaction for something better. It's just the vibe, but it's hard to connect with people out here, and I think it's for these reasons. Just for these reasons. Yeah, but is that does that am I going to start making excuses for my situation? No, not at all. I'm going to do what I can. I'm gonna focus on my economy, right? And if you all remember last podcast, I talked about economy versus the individual, right? Though there is the economy, there's still your economy for the individual, right? You don't people make money in a bearish market too, So it really comes down to your mindset. I guess I'm pointing out you are entitled to nothing. If one has income, one has a way out. The fundamental difference lies in asset versus expense allocation, right? If you want to understand the difference between the rich and the poor, this is the difference. One uses most of their income to buy assets, the other uses most of their income to pay off expenses. Now, if your expenses are high, how could you possibly have more for assets? It was like this one time, this girl I was talking to, she was, we were headed to church, and she was talking about, how could I have money? How could I pay tithes if I can't even pay my bills with 100%? I was thinking, I'm like, what? No, tithes is the first thing you put aside. You only have 90%, otherwise you wouldn't be making 100%. But you see what I'm saying? Like her mindset was skewed. She thought that God didn't provide the 100%. She completely miscalculated that fact, right? No, you're giving God 10% because He allowed you to make the 100%. You only have 90% essentially. But that was her mentality, and that's why she could never save, unfortunately. If you have too many if your expenses are too high, your only choice is either to raise your income or to lower your expenses so that you can divert more towards assets, right? The poor and middle class primarily spend their income on expenses and liabilities, which are costs that take money out of their pockets, while the rich use their income to acquire income generating assets, investments that put money into their pockets. So the poor earn income to pay for immediate necessities like food, rent, or utilities. The middle class, they try to look rich. They this is what I call hood rich. They earn income to buy liabilities that they mistake for assets, such as car loans, credit card debt, or large mortgages, right? Yeah, they think like having a home is an asset when that's just depreciating. I mean, like that's a money pit, if you ask me. Bro, I have an apartment in Koreatown, Los Angeles. Bro, this is enough for me, and I'm already paying what 1,700. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I like shoot, I gotta raise my income. But the rich, what they do? They earn income to buy assets. So they take the income, they buy stocks, they buy real estate, they build businesses that eventually generate enough passive income to cover their expenses, right? So, I mean, should they even get paid money on saving their money? Think about how much interest you can get paid in a year just off having $100,000 in the high yield savings account. That's a lot of money, right? The current rate is like 3%, right? That's a lot of money. So stocks pay on average 11% per year, right? But like I mentioned earlier, credit card rates are triple that on average. So it doesn't make sense to borrow to invest unless the ROI, return on investment, is greater than the interest rate of that debt. I understand I would never borrow to invest because the risk to return ratio is just too high. You don't, there's nothing that's certain. No investment is that certain. Everything is measured in risk, by the way, which is a derivative of fear and therefore another excuse people use to remain poor. They Actually, being poor is the riskiest thing you can do. You pretty much are just, you get this scarcity mindset and trying to save every dollar. But really, if you put every dollar to work for you, you're better off. You're better off. So it's risky being avoiding risk. Isn't that ironic? A business seems like a risky adventure, for example, but the amount of risk becomes almost non-existent when you confide in consistency, right? It's like dollar cost averaging. You can't time the market, but if you keep on pouring into the, I don't know, an index fund, I mean, most of the time, I mean, apparently statistically, on average, they say you'll make money. That's why they says averages out. And the dumbest thing you could do, the most cliche thing I've ever heard is I'm gonna quit my job to start a business. That's so silly. And I was at one point in time in my naive years, my younger years, my early 20s, thought this way. My dad constantly had to talk to me. Young man's ambition, man, I tell you. A young man's ambition, man. I'm surprised God allowed me to live like in many different cases. I just too wild. And I'm surprised God didn't make me settle down. God didn't slow my life down with a baby or something. Man, I'm so blessed. Seriously. Thanks to God. It's better to work on your skill set to raise your income whilst honing your skill set within your business, which has the potential of monetization in the end, right? The wisest financiers allocate each penny to work for them. So no cash is idle, essentially, except for expenses, of course, right? A major purchase in 3 to 6 months or an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months expenses, but no less than $1,000, right? It's good to have you know, an emergency fund, right? Because things happen, stuff happens, right? So I would take that $1,000, and this is what most people say, but do what you feel is right. And then I started within $600 emergency fund because and this is when I was like I had lost my job and got sick. I had to borrow a lot of money to keep my apartment, but I was building my emergency fund and getting out of debt. And guess what I did? I saw an opportunity on a stock. I went and bought that stock, which with not with my emergency fund, but with my next paycheck. So I was able to allocate what I don't know. I just took a portion of my paycheck, like $400 in that stock, and I doubled it. You know what I'm saying? You got to take opportunities. Don't be scared to take risk. I didn't have my full emergency fund, and I felt that was foolish at the time. But did I feel foolish when I made my money back? No. So don't be scared to take risk. And above all, stop complaining. Take action. Man, I find it in myself. It's funny how one moment we'll be complaining, and then the next moment we're arrogant. It's like one moment we're saying, "Man, I wish I knew what to do," and then another moment we're like, "Oh, I know it all." Like, man, watch out for human behavior, man, because it's just ridiculous. Either way, it doesn't matter what happens. You can do something to improve your situation, even if it's small, even if it seems insignificant. You can do something, right? As long as it's better than yesterday, you're improving. Unfortunately, people are filled with excuses, so it's a personal venture of mine to not put them forth on myself, which would be the practice of denial, right? Rather, I'm trying to hold myself accountable for my future and future earnings. I desire to do great things. Yet, in order to achieve greatness, one must exact the details. And guess who's in the details? God is in the details. I'm sure God is pleased when you pray about the details, right? When you are specific about your prayer. Okay? And let's not forget the small habits solidify into character, which maketh a full man. Truly it's all up to you. So let's do our very best. I thank you all so much for coming for this podcast. I really enjoyed this one. I tried to keep it under 30 minutes. Well, I'm at 28 minutes. Wow. Ended it perfectly. Perfect timing. Thank you so much, you all, for stopping by. If you have any comments about my stock picks, or if you feel like I'm making a huge mistake moving forward, let a brother know. This is my 2026 stock market portfolio, but hey, it is what it is. Hey, this is Joseph Krasner. Thanks for stopping by.